Manga Vision was an early foray into the American market for manga. This magazine sort of came out in the early to late 90s, and it was just sort of testing the water, and it shows a variety of styles. My guest today is Wesley Griffith, and we're going to take a look specifically at a book by a story by Rumiko Takahashi called "Those Selfish Aliens." You can really kind of see where Wesley, got the hooks into and where his style came after that. It's really interesting to take a look at this. So yeah, welcome to Chris Anderson Comics. Thanks for sending these, by the way.
Oh yeah, man, no problem. I at first I was kind of like this. It was kind of a struggle to find like a really good looking PDF of it. Like I kind of had to download it and Frankenstein with it a little bit.
Yeah,
And then I just kind of thought to myself, I was like, well, because I was looking at my physical copy and I was like, man, it's so much better if I could just like send him this. And then I
yeah.
looked up on Amazon. I'm like, this isn't expensive. Like, so I just figured I'd send that.
Oh
But
man, I really appreciate that.
yeah,
Because yeah, I would always prefer having the physical copy as opposed to a PDF to go through, It's
hmm
just like, I don't know, the tactile thing for me anyway. Obviously, viewers aren't gonna care either way, but
Yeah. Well, I
um
don't know. If I'm a viewer of this like channel and I was seeing this, I would definitely appreciate this. I think it's like the flip through is so cool.
yeah, because you actually get to actually see what the book is. So this is actually, I think you're the first person for the comic book gene pool episode that has pulled up a manga of any sort
That's surprising.
since I've been doing them. Yeah, it is pretty surprising. Oh, well, I mean, actually there was Lone Wolf and Cub,
Oh, okay.
so I
Yeah.
take that back.
That's like one of the mangas. Yeah, that's a big
Yeah,
one.
right. It's so like such a quintessential manga
Yeah.
thing that I just didn't even think of it as manga, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's easy to think of it that way. It is just like you kind of think of it as like, oh, this is just one of the great works in
Exactly.
general. But yeah.
And I did Akira too. I mean, what am I now that I'm really thinking about it? I take it all back. But this is one that I didn't have in my collection, and so thank you for sending it out. And this is cool. This is from like 1995, Manga Vision. This is from Viz, like early Viz, right?
Yeah, okay, so this is like a real sweet spot for me. I get
Mhm.
very I don't know, nostalgic and misty-eyed over this very weird specific time of America trying its hand at bringing manga to the United States and just being like, how do we sell this here? And they're trying to figure out the like
Ooh,
anthological format that manga is presented in Japan. They're not going to try the
yeah.
phone book yet. So they're like, okay, we
Mhm.
can do magazines. Let's try it with a magazine and do like three different titles and see how that goes. And I grabbed this copy in 1997 and was like really, really into it. Like this was like totally new and bold and like really exciting for me at the time when I was like 9 or so.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna ask, like, how old were you at the time? So you were like 9.
hmm
So this is some formative stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly for the one we're going to be looking at today, the title like "Those Selfish Aliens" by Rumiko Takahashi. Um, Big fan of her work. She's like creator of like Ranma One Half and Inuyasha stuff that was
Oh,
pretty like popular over here. But like the big
yeah.
one that made her at one point, I don't know if this is the case anymore, but I remember reading somewhere that at one point she was the richest woman in uh, excuse me, richest woman in Japan, due to her creating this title called Urusei Yatsura, which is if you Google that, and you'll see the image of that character Lum, the girl with the blue hair and the tiger stripe bikini. That was like a very, very successful series in Japan. It kind of like was like on the level like what The Simpsons was in the early 90s. It was kind of this like ubiquitous, like very popular comedy show.
So not just the richest female mangaka in Japan, the richest woman in Japan, period, huh?
Yeah, from what I
Wild.
read in an issue of that another magazine called An America, if you remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
that's true. I really hope I'm not making that up.
This was a trippy time period because you're right. It was they were really just trying to figure it out. Like we had Akira, we had things like Ghost in the Shell was already out. Dark Horse was trying to pump some stuff out, but it's really cool to see this early Viz stuff. I mean, I guess I never really realized that this is probably one of their first publications, right? So it's probably where Viz comes from is Manga Vision, right?
I'm not entirely sure.
Hmm.
I think one of their early ones would have been like translating like manga, or sorry, not manga, Ranma one half.
Mm,
I think that one was a really big one for them. I'm sure there's something else that I'm missing. Like I think also another manga artist they have featured in this collection is I always mess up his name, Ryoichi Ikegami, and I think that they tried a lot of his stuff as well, because I think in there, from if I had to guess their way of thinking, Ryuichi Ikegami has a very Western style. Like he doesn't do the big eyes thing. Like it's very illustrative, and I
yeah.
feel like in their
Yeah.
minds, maybe like this will be an easier sell to an American audience.
Sure. Sure, yeah. Oh, interesting. All right, so let's flip it open. They're using anime and manga here. I remember, like, just a few years prior to that, manga was or anime wasn't even a term I heard. Everybody just called it Japanimation.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like- um, and hey, check it out. We can subscribe to it. Um, so those selfish aliens is the one that you wanted to really like take a close look at, huh?
Yeah, this is a favorite story of mine, and it's really cool. I like that they advertise that this is the first published work that Rumiko Takahashi did. This is her. I want to guess that I think she's probably in her late teens, early 20s, and she made this like
Okay.
really amazing, like kind of one-shot comic. I feel like this was also another formative thing for me as well. I don't think I saw a lot of creators that did these weird like one and done kind of stories. Comics were kind of
Yeah.
impenetrable to me in a weird way as you start as a kid, because you're just like, well, what is the beginning of Green Lantern? Like I know it looks cool, but
Right.
like where do I start?
Yeah.
And
And that's still a problem today, isn't it?
yeah,
Even worse
it's if not
on some
worse.
levels. Yeah.
And but yeah, I also really like that Viz, like I feel like they were really into Rumiko Takahashi's work. Like they translated a lot of her stuff. And I feel like, I don't know, that's rare nowadays. Like it's
Hmm.
tough to like, I don't know, to get something over here, let alone like a particular artist that a publisher has a vested interest in. Like, no, we're gonna do like everything that we can get our hands on to like get people like turned on to this.
Right. Unless it's like Junji Ito or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. He's one for sure, but yeah, like one, like I'm a big Kazuo Umezu fan, and I'm still
Hmm.
like just waiting for the day when I was like, man, when is 14 gonna get translated? Have you ever seen images of that one? It's got like this weird
I
chicken
don't
guy.
I don't know if I've seen that.
It's
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that could that could be another episode potentially.
Okay. Well, I'm down. Yeah, this story is wild. So it says that this is the story that like launched her career. It was published in 1978.
Hmm.
So I would have been 1 year old when it came out in
Oh,
Japan.
cool.
Or maybe like 2 months old since I was born in late 77. Um, and yeah, this is a wild story. So we're dropped in on this character. It's this boy who is delivering papers. And out of nowhere, this guy dressed in this weird suit just kind of comes up to him and grabs him.
Revealed to be like
And
an alien. Yeah.
right, pulls him up into this spaceship. Now these aliens are kind of doofuses, and they just look like regular people. They kind of look like they remind me a little bit of what did I just see? Oh, one of the Godzilla movies
I know.
where
Yep.
where they go to Planet
Yeah,
X, you know, and the
Godzilla. It
aliens.
has like a bunch of different titles, but Godzilla versus Monster Zero is the one that. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
They. I.
Yep.
I know Rumiko Takahashi is a big like being a woman that like a Japanese woman that's of her age, and I think there's also some different things that she's said on the record is like she's a Godzilla fan, so I feel like that
Uh-huh.
movie would have been like I don't know. This is another thing that was appealing to me. I'm a big Godzilla fan, and like right away
Mhm.
when I looked at this in 1997, I could tell like I was like, I know the person that drew this is also a fan of these movies because I feel like you wouldn't just draw this if you weren't.
Yeah, it's the shades and just the sleek suit, you know, and like there's just the very simple like thing. They're almost like 1950s American aliens.
Hmm.
And then like, you know, by the 70s, that's what they were represented as in the or I guess maybe it was the 60s that that came out, but
Yeah,
represented as in Japan. It's
I
funny.
really love this like wild. I guess like it's like this extension kind of foreshortening of like his leg as he's being pulled up into the flying
Yeah.
saucer. I really love the like there's something really cool like or stylistically appealing about bell bottoms like in cartooning. Like they just kind of make the leg
Yes.
look more interesting than it would be otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do a bigger squash and stretch for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, that is a really great dynamic drawing. It's not really coming at you as much as it is you're feeling the stretch of it
Yeah.
being pulled up, you know?
And like
So they want the aliens want him to be terrified, and he's just, like, concerned with getting back to his paper route.
yeah, he's very like single. This is like kind of a trope that Takahashi will kind of bring to her later work. Like a lot of her characters are very single natured in their in what they want and are kind of oblivious to like what anyone else cares about. It doesn't matter that these aliens want to scare him. All he cares about is delivering papers and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a funny thing. It's like, "I have a responsibility. Let me go. I need to get these papers delivered. It's very important."
Yeah.
So they gas him, and they said, "Unconscious, but not scared." And then they go and they shall we plant a bomb in his body? Now this is gonna be the beginning of this thing where he's gonna get well, we'll leave it for when it
Yeah.
happens, but he gets a bomb planted in his body. And so, like, the idea is that they're gonna, um, you know, talk to the Earthlings, and if they don't surrender, they're gonna blow this guy up, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I really love that. Like, there's something I don't know. It's kind of like a horrific about that silhouette. Even though it's really funny, that silhouette of that knife like going into him is kind of like I don't know, gross to me in a way.
yeah. Yeah, and the slipping in of the
Uh
bomb,
huh.
and then it's just like this "foomp" suction cup that, like, seals it up right away, and then the alien's, like, reading the newspaper that he dropped, and it's like, "Hubby's affair drives wife to murder-suicide. Give me that, I shall transmit it to the mothership." That's great.
Yeah.
And so they're flying along, and all of a sudden, a tractor beam hits the UFO.
Yeah. Immediate change for the scenery. Like, all right, it's not enough that we're gonna be taking this story has now gone into a UFO. Now we're going to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, we've gone from all the way from the cosmos to, you know, the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, and now we
Um,
get these the Fishmen, which I think of there's another like Toho science fiction movie of like Atragon, which I wonder if she was also a big fan of that as well.
right. Um, and they pull them in, you know, they tie them up, all of them, the aliens and this guy, and he's just worried about his newspapers again.
Mhm.
And they open the door, these fish people, and the fish people have this pet, they call her, and it's just this, this girl.
Mhm. Yeah, another, and now we're introduced to something that, like, another thing that Rumiko Takahashi excels with, like, just like these very, like, cute young people where you kind of look at them and you're like, they're immediately appealing. Like, even though, like, to the other characters, K, I believe the main guy, his name is, like, he's
Hmm.
annoying to others, but to me he's not. I find him really charming. And the girl as well. It's, I don't know, it's so cool.
Um, and so he wants to escape from them, but uh, the fish people are listening in, and they say that resistance is futile, and they just like wallop this girl,
Hmm.
because they're kind of roughing him up again a little bit. And so he, starts to push back a little bit, and they take him away. And what do? They plant a bomb in him.
Yeah. So that's two bombs in his body so far.
Right. So it's another one of these threats. It's like the same thing again. If they're gonna invade the surface, and if the humans resist, they're gonna blow this
Mhm.
guy up. We've got a theme going
Yeah.
on. So, he wakes up. He's like, "Can I go home now?" Only after we erase your memory. Now, that was another thing actually that we missed in the first part, because they were gonna go ahead and erase his memory too. The aliens were.
Mm.
Didn't get a chance to, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
And then he goes down here, and they're gonna let him go only if he erases memories. Um, and he's just like, I need to just get back to my paper route, and so
As
he
he shouts and
unleashes
powers up,
hell,
and
and
yeah, like, uh, does like judo on these fishmen.
yeah. Um, so he goes to get her, and they're all running away. And what did they do to you? I don't know. And here's their their ship that's all tied up,
Yeah.
and he's able to open the button by throwing his paper. It reminds me of Paperboy, the game. I wonder if
Yeah.
that was probably, well, 1976. That probably wasn't invented yet.
No, not quite yet.
Not quite yet. But maybe whoever came up with that game was a big fan of this book. Um,
Chekhov's paper. Like,
yeah. Um, all right, so they're able to escape. They get out of here.
yeah, this texture that she, like drawing water is such a pain in the ass, and she does like such a great job of presenting it. It's so beautiful looking.
It is, and it looks like it could be like a big flat. I've got one here. So I just used it, so it's in the bathroom drying. But a big, like, flat, hard bristle brush that
Hmm.
we'll just do that. If you It's not quite dry brush, but it's because the hairs are split. Because it's definitely not dry brush,
Hmm.
but you can see, like, the way that it works.
Even though, I don't know, this was considered, like, I don't know, maybe like controversial to purists at the time. I kind of love this time of when manga was being translated here and digital lettering wasn't quite a thing yet. So they did hire professional letterers to translate the kanji into
Yeah.
English lettering. Like, it's very, like, it's really appealing looking.
Yeah, it is, and because they had to go over the top of what was already there, a lot of it is vertical,
Mhm.
which is really cool.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, exactly what you're pointing at looks really great.
Mhm.
Yeah. I can't imagine, like, I always wonder in my head, like, what, like, and I would love to ask somebody, like, what was it like to have to flip all this stuff? Like, what a pain that must have been.
Yeah. It's interesting too. This is before they, trained us all to read in the proper order, from back to front.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wild that it still works too, you know?
Yeah. I had heard that one of the reasons why we started translating manga in the correct way over or printing it in the correct way over here had a large part to do with Akira Toriyama, because when Viz got the license for Dragon Ball and presented it to him, the idea of flipping it, he just told them no. And they were in a kind of a position of like, well, what are we going to do? Like, not publish Dragon Ball and lose a bunch of money? So they
Right.
just, yeah, they ran it as it was. And it
Well,
sold just fine from what my understanding.
I mean, it might have.
Yeah.
Dragon what now? What did you? Let's see here. Okay.
Another great
So,
fight scene.
yeah.
But kind of like this Clouseau like fight scene, like it's all kind of like he's a reluctant powerful character.
Yeah, and he's kind of like bumbling into it. Like he goes to swing but misses and then hits a button that turns on this thing that like zaps him,
Right.
right?
And the
And
girl's
he goes
just
and,
like
and
swooning over him.
yeah, and she thinks that that's just great. Like, oh my gosh, he's so competent
Yeah.
and what a great fighter. But he smashes this control and guy gets it blows up in their face.
A lot of really great expressions on those guys for her hindering herself and not showing their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really great trick.
What was that? So the ship comes down and crashes in Tokyo. And of course, oh, look, it's on like early internet, maybe, or is this supposed to be the newspaper?
Oh,
Maybe it's the newspaper.
that's the newspaper.
Okay. Oh yeah, because 76, duh, there would have been no early internet. And then there's like a like a letter in the paper from the
This
aliens.
is so funny.
Humans have built spaceships and advanced into space, but there are superior life forms in space. We think you humans are conceited. We've hidden a bomb somewhere. We'll set it off if you don't do as we say. Please respond. Sincerely,
I
aliens.
love,
Because of course
yeah,
they
the
would put an
sincerely.
article in the paper, right?
Yeah. And this is great. At the bottom panel there on the left-hand side, the fishmen have these outfits so that they can invade the land,
Yeah,
which is so like
yeah.
that design is so funny. And in the anime of Urusei Yatsura, these characters they make tons of cameos in the background. They'll just show up randomly, like occasionally, which is really fun.
I love
Yeah.
that. And I love you can just see the way that they walk too, like in this little panel here, because their little fin legs are so short and their bodies are so elongated. You can just see them just kind of like hobbling along.
Yeah, it's so good.
And so now the humans, he's knocked out here, and the humans have him. And am I right? They think that he's an alien?
I can't remember. They are nefarious characters, like to say the least. Like it's the guy with the eye patch and the scars all over him. And basically what happens is they are like the third party to plant a bomb inside of him. I think maybe they
Exactly.
want to put a bomb inside of him to give him to the aliens and fishmen and blow him up at the
Yes,
right time.
right. They're going to send him back up to the mothership, which is floating around space. This is the mothership.
Yeah.
And so, here's his thought that they're going to do that. So there's now 3 bombs in him, and they're going to wipe out his. The papers say he's an alien, so he must be. There we go. And they pinch his cheek, like, I swear he's human. But the paperwork. And so what did they do to you? I think these are the first ones to successfully like wipe his mind of what
Okay.
happened. Um, So he says, "You can all go back to your spaceship," and she's like, "But we're not aliens, and I have to deliver my papers." And then the fish walk in. Look at this. Look at the way that this fish kicks this
So
door
good.
open. This is my favorite panel in the entire
Yeah.
book, I
You're
think.
not going anywhere.
With so much force from this tiny little
Yeah, it's like
flipper.
such a hilarious little his like little tiny leg extended.
And then this suit that this guy is wearing, it's got like roses and it's I thought at first that it was like some sort of fancy screen tone or something, but I think it's just
Oh,
stipple.
did she draw that? Oh, wow.
I think
That's
so.
awesome. Oh, man. Do I have my copy around here somewhere? I'll grab
There's
it.
not a ton of screen tone in this story.
No.
Like very, very little. Like on the mothership, and that's it for these 3 pages.
Yeah, I always
Yeah,
wanna
because
know,
she's
like, how much is
yeah.
assistance and, like, how much is her, or is it, like is she at the level now when she can have, like, assistance yet?
Right. Well, this would have been her first, well, maybe not her first published story, but it says it's the one that got her,
Yeah,
attention. So maybe she's just doing it all herself at this point.
maybe.
There's nothing crazy. There's no,
No,
it's
and
a it first of all, it's a short, so it's not like she's needs really
yeah. I
assistance,
counted the pages
on it.
once, it's only it's a just a 32-page story.
Yeah. Oh, there's some screen tones on this tank,
Oh,
but
yeah. Man,
all
that
right.
tank is great.
Yeah. So let's go back here. So what happens here? They go there, everybody's trying to fight over him, and all of a sudden, like, the ceiling starts to crack and collapse, and it's the mothership and a whole bunch of spaceships. And I guess they pulled him up into the ship.
Did they? I think he escaped.
Oh no, he did escape.
Yeah.
Okay, because I wasn't sure what this like. I guess it's just falling
Yeah,
debris
there's
or
a great
something.
gag of, him yelling at the spaceship to catch him, and, like, they all
Yeah.
respond in, like, skywriting, "Okay."
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Like,
They line up in
I love how it's
formation and
such a,
say,
like,
"Okay."
casual, affirmative, like, just, "Okay."
Yep. And here comes these tanks rolling down the street. "We are men. We are
Yeah,
tough."
and then the
And then
fishermen have a catch of the day on their flag.
yeah, and they're riding like some sort of motorcycle looking
Yeah, this
thing.
whole comic is so bonkers, it's so fun.
It's really
Yeah.
weird. And then the spaceships are flying in like a goose V formation. So everybody's trying to get this kid now. Nobody knows that the other has planted a bomb until I think they all say at the same time, they're looking, they catch up to her and they like, "Where is he?" And they all say at the same time, "Talker will blow him up." And they're like, "Wait, what?
Yeah.
Did you just say blow him up?" "He said it. You said it too." So, you mean to tell me you all put a bomb in him? "Stop the attack. If one explodes, it'll trigger the rest." And then he's doing like this math. "There will be a fusion of destructive energies resulting in brrrr." And then, "Oh my gracious, say it in English. What's going to happen? The whole universe will be destroyed."
That panel of him exploding is so wild looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also
Yeah,
love
she
that.
definitely did like white media there because
Yeah.
it's kind of before. I mean, I'm not sure how you reproduce this, but you couldn't really like pull all the gray out of it, it looks like, in small
Yeah,
areas.
I wonder. Huh. Really love that panel on the previous page of him running as these explosions are going
This
off.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like he's running, like you'd see him like running in slow motion or
Yeah.
something, and like But he's saying I have to hurry. I can still make it for the evening edition
Yeah,
because,
single-minded,
the most important thing is
yeah, he's only gotta get those
papers.
papers out.
All right, so now they've gone from wanting to get him and kill him to everybody's trying to
Right, because they
protect
don't want
him.
him to have a heart attack, other
Yeah, because if he
yeah, because 'cause he'll
does,
die and
yeah.
then all the bombs will explode.
And then, she finally gets him and is like, "Quit bothering me. Delivering newspapers is my
Big
life."
moment.
That's right. He's a company man for
Yeah.
sure. Why are you all so helpful all of a sudden? I guess they live to deliver newspapers too, so at the end everybody is
Yeah.
helping
This,
deliver
like,
these papers. It's
parade of,
goodwill and unity and friendship and all have, kumbaya moment just because if they mess with this guy, he'll blow up the whole
right.
universe. Oh man,
Such a great
that's a
drawing.
great gag, yeah.
Yeah, and I love how, yeah, ends with the title, like, typical comic book, like, ending.
Yeah. Oh my god. So good.
Oh, man, yeah, I such a such a such a great comic, and yeah, it was so strange and different to see, like, in 1997. It was really, really bizarre and very
Yeah.
fun.
And so that kinda got its hooks into you. Is this kind of the book that made you, like, at 9 years old, kinda go, "I wanna do this"?
Um, definitely, I don't. I think Calvin and Hobbes was that for me, because Calvin and Hobbes I learned how to read because of, like, that
Mhm.
book, and but I Rumiko Takahashi's work was kind of what, like, made me think about the kinds of like, not being, like, realizing that you didn't have to be pigeonholed in the kinds of stories that you wanted to tell, because other than, like, making great comedy, she also has these really great horror books that are
Yeah.
great to read, and, like, all the in the different anthologies that they published of her works, you can kind of see this whole different gamut of the kinds of stories that she wants to tell, whether it's, like, kind of like this sports, martial arts, or romance, or horror, or science fiction. And that was very, like, kind of like a powerful and liberating idea to me at the time as a young person wanting to kind of do this thing.
Yeah. That's awesome. The cool thing about this too is that you do get to see, different styles of manga,
Hmm.
you know, which is something that, I if if they're trying to get Americans to get interested in manga, I think that was something that was probably really important that they do because, Americans see a couple manga, things at the time and they kind of were probably saying, "Oh, this all sort of looks alike." But when you have it all in one spot, you can, really see the difference between them.
Yeah, it's a very like, like, very well curated magazine. I don't know. Every once in a while, I'll entertain the idea, like, maybe I should pick all of these up for my collection, but I don't know. Haven't uh
Pulled the trigger on that
yeah,
yet.
not yet.
This the way that this postures and everything also almost looks like a Kyle Baker drawing, which is really
Oh,
interesting.
I can totally see that, especially with the baggy clothes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the droopy kind of face and the eyes.
Mhm. Yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure one didn't influence the other, but and then here you see some, oh man, this line work is just beautiful and the clothes. It's just such a like this reminds me of just like fashion illustration,
Yeah, fashion
where
illustration is
it's
a great way to describe, like, what Ryuichi Ikegami does.
yeah.
Or, I don't know, I was looking at Crying Freeman recently,
Mhm.
and one of the things that is kind of a thing of that comic is all the nudity, and some of it's very much, like, in this, like, sexual way, but a lot of it I think of, like, I don't know, classic art. Like, I think a lot of the depictions that he's doing it are of men, and these, like, he's just showing off, like, "Oh, counterposto like very, very well. Like your depictions of nudity are like the classic like heroic nude, like Michelangelo like idea of it in a way, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really cool to see. This is a wild story too. I mean, we don't have to go through it like as as in
Yeah.
depth, but there are things to like point out. Like it's really cool because you can see like how the screen tone wasn't cut just right there, and
Hmm.
like this is a really great early example of the Japanese way of handling speed lines.
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy in this, and like ultra violence right off the bat with the arm getting cut off.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, this one was strange to me at the time because I remember I don't remember this one as well because I didn't pay much attention
Mhm.
because I could tell like, oh, this is definitely in the middle of something bigger, and I'm not quite sure what's going on. Yeah,
Right.
but
These
it was
faces are
it's still
great.
fucking cool to look at though.
So cool, and just the handling of the screen tones is brilliant. Like I love this too with the brushwork of the plane going down, and then they just sort of like scrape the screen tone away to show the smoke.
Hmm.
Such skill, and I always love this, like the handling of sort of like drawing the line of the shadow, and then
Oh,
actually just putting in like a light thing on it, like
yeah.
Cam Kennedy does that too. If you look at his stuff,
I
it's
love
like
Cam Kennedy. His what's that book? Dark Empire. That to me in
yes,
my head as a Star Wars fan,
yeah,
that's the real episode.
yep,
You know whatever the number it's supposed to
the
be. Whatever is supposed to happen after
right,
Return of the
exactly,
Jedi, it's that fucking book.
yep, that's right.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you.
Uh,
If anybody watching has not checked out Dark
Star
Empire,
Wars
well,
fans that are watching, go read Dark
get out
Empire
there.
right now and try to forget the last 3 movies.
Yeah, it's not only is it like a quality Star Wars story, like it really is. It feels like what should have happened after Return of the
It's
Jedi,
in my
but
yeah, in my
it's
head,
like
like, it
some
always
of the
is.
best Star Wars art out there, period.
Yeah, and you know why? Because those movies stole a lot of ideas from it anyway, so it's kinda like,
Yeah.
well, alright, well, there you go. It is the best.
Yep.
No, but also art quality, yeah, like, the coloring in that book is
Oh,
so
it's
wild.
gorgeous. Watercolored and yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, this is an odd story. It's like this like pilot samurai, and they're in France,
And
but they're fighting
Ernest
for
Hemingway is, like, their buddy or something like that. It's this weird historical fiction action story. Yeah, it's very strange.
yeah. And this guy whose arm got cut off, like, shows back up and is crazy, and, like, his wound is, like, leaking,
Yeah,
and he gets shot a couple times, but, like,
he can't.
he goes to, like he's got like, shark teeth, and he goes to, like, bite him, but misses and takes a chunk out of a tree.
Mhm.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And he oh, yeah, and he catches the sword in his mouth.
Mhm. Yeah, no matter how much, like, he keeps getting, like, wounded, he, like, won't stop coming. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, Monty Python.
Yeah.
It's only a flesh wound.
Yeah.
This is a cool texture, whatever they used here.
Oh, it looks like
It
fish scales or snake skin or something.
yeah, snake skin
God, that
and maybe, like, Xeroxed or something.
maybe. God, that does look cool. Wow. I haven't looked at this one in kind of a while, so
So this is a trip too because this, like, ultra detail of the, embellishing and stuff reminds me of, who's the artist and writer that does that Dracula book right now and did, do you know who I'm talking about?
artist and writer does the Dracula book right now.
Dracula, it's like DRAC hashtag or something
Oh,
is the name of the
I don't know. I
book.
don't think I know.
Here, I've got it right here. Let me just get it as long as I'm here. This is the book I'm talking about. Uh,
Oh, that looks
uh,
cool.
names. I don't see any names in English, but this is done with like hyper detail, and I know that they like use a lot of photo manipulation let me find some like clothes or something. And what they yeah, they'll use like they'll actually make these like period piece clothes and pose the characters in it, and then go in and actually and then draw the characters like into the clothes.
So are they using like a live a model of a person, and then they'll draw
Yeah,
the? Oh, interesting.
yeah.
That's
So
cool.
we can see like the lace work and stuff in these clothes, but just everything, like, it's so detailed.
Man.
But, it's using computer to manipulate that, otherwise it would take for forever, but, like, the embellishing that's in this, it almost looks like that same technique, but, it can't have been.
No.
That's impossible at this time.
Right. Well, they had Xerox then. They could do something with something. I don't know. Someone's
Yeah,
doing that.
something, but, I mean, that could be by hand.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to, yeah, just take the time to do that with a pen or brush.
Yeah, it's an odd thing to I guess, well, I mean, I get it's an odd thing to embellish because it's not supposed to be the focal point of it, but I guess since it is a splash page, you would kinda do that in there.
Right.
This is a really cool texture too. It's almost like a, what's it called? Like a grease marker or
Mm.
something. I said I wasn't gonna take a long time on this, but
I
here
mean,
we
how can
are.
you not?
So cool. Like, I'm just a texture freak. I just love different textures and stuff, and I just wanna know how they did this. This is just amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
It's almost like reverse Kirby Crackle or something. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. Then let's go ahead then to Ogre
Okay,
Slayer.
this story I'm very familiar with because this was my other favorite from this issue. This is my first encounter with like horror manga that I can think. Yeah, I think it is my first. So yeah, this one was very like crazy to see. Like this, God, this beginning is so scary.
Yeah,
It's still
with
so
the
frightening.
it's the with the big, you know, lettering and just this kid running through.
Uh-huh.
I see similarities to the styles
Mm-hmm.
in this mangaka must have been very much influenced by some of these things.
I'm
Um,
really curious because obviously from the way this like this printing was done, this was in color when it was published, and then for this one they uh, grayscaled it. So I'm really, now that I'm looking at and thinking about it, I'm like, wow, man, like what was the color version of this like?
it was in color, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Because manga does that sometimes, where they'll have their opening pages like will be
Yeah.
painted or have that like processed
Hmm.
red in the background or something like that, or like sprinkled throughout. So I'm wondering, yeah, like what was the application of color for these like couple of pages?
That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because definitely there's, if it wasn't in color, then it's definitely like ink washed or watercolored in black and white.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was in color, then the colors were like perfect because it translates over to value very
Yeah.
well. So there's this, creature says, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Here I come."
Mhm.
So it's like playing, hide and seek kind
Right.
of with this kid. You don't really
You
see
don't see it, and it.
you get a sense that they're in the woods only by this from this panel.
That one branch, yeah, it's really good, very
Mhm.
effective. I mean,
This watercolor lead gotcha is great.
oh man, I also really love that like how that um the way the moon looks, and it could be just the quality of the printing, but like it really captures like the way the moon looks when like just like not an entire cloud is covering it, but like a big like
Yes.
enough like I have a hazy one is going over it. Like
Yeah.
it's like a little obscured, but you definitely see it's out. It's really, really good.
Yeah. I also love the way that it's like the letters are swirling around here.
Hmm. I like to in that previous spread that the way the hand is like in the bottom panel, like just reaching
Mhm.
across the entire like one page to the other.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
Beautiful. And it's almost like a style change when it goes to the
To daytime.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's because of the shading and stuff, but so we're following this character who's just sort of wandering in the streets of this town, clearly a stranger. It's a small village. People have been disappearing in the woods that the kids play in,
Hmm.
and they're playing a game called Ogre Game, which is a very popular Japanese children's game. One child, the ogre, picks a color. As long as the other players are touching anything this color, they are safe and cannot be tagged. And then there's another one. No, no, let's play high place ogre. This version of the ogre game is usually played on a playground. The ogre chases the other children who are safe only in places higher than the ground, i.e., a bench, a swing, etc. So that was helpful.
Yeah. Well, this is
If
another
you know what the hell they're talking about.
yeah, it's funny. Speaking of like our, theme of, getting Americans used to manga, like the translation here, like what they're talking about here is oni, like the Japanese like monster. But for
Yeah,
when they translated this, they're like, all right, people aren't ready to deal with that yet. Like just call it an ogre, and like so that will be
right.
like more digestible to the American audience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is funny because I remember reading this as a kid, and I remember like I had trouble like reading the word ogre. I had never like seen it before, so it would have been like oni would have just worked just as well for me as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
The R before the E, right?
yeah. I remember reading it and being like, "Agra, what? What the
Yeah.
fuck? Like, what are you telling me?"
So we go to this rural house where there's this old woman. She's blind, or at least she looks like she's blind. Excuse me. Wow. I'm gonna have to cut that out. Um, and there's this kid that is living with her, and this kid really wants to play the ogre game, but the ogre slayer will come and slay you if you play it too often. Ogre slayer? It's only a fairy tale. Ogre slayer is a human being, but not a human being. It is a pure ogre born to kill its own kin. So we've kind of been tipped off just from that this kid is actually an ogre,
Yeah,
but you know.
I yeah. I mean, yeah. This comic does exposition really, really well. Like, I feel like Jim
Mhm.
Shooter would be very proud of this comic in terms of
Yeah.
every comic is someone's first comic.
So this kid goes out to play this game, and this, stranger is kind of in the woods. I'm gonna go into the woods here now. Pulls out this blade. Can you sense the ogre? So it can, this sword can track it. It's a common trope. And he runs into this kid. Let's play the ogre game. If you don't know the rules, I can teach you. And I love the background is all these like pictures of these creatures,
Yeah.
There's a few shots like that.
Yeah, it's a like really like yeah, great detail to show this like traditional Japanese folk art is like don't forget the kind of story we're telling here.
Yeah.
And take a look at that in that last panel, the kid, he mentions like the police officer that we saw
Yeah,
earlier, and then he says like, "Well, I was playing with him, and I really," and then we'll see on the next page what became of him. But I really love that application. If I think there's like a little bit of zip to show that like the shading of his face has
yeah,
changed a little bit, just to be like,
yeah,
there's okay, there's some sort of darkness here. Like
yep,
things are not okay with this kid.
yeah. Earlier, I played with the policeman. It ended too soon, though.
Oh. And then we see.
So this time it's your turn. So he's running, doo doo doo, and the kid is counting, getting ready. 99, 100. Look at this kid's
Oh
face.
man, that like blew me away when I was
Fantastic.
9. I was like, holy shit, that's freaky.
Yeah. Ready or not, here I come. And yeah, you can just see it busting through the woods like this.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my god, I forgot the detail of like his arms are like
mm-hmm.
unproportionally much like bigger than the rest of his legs. It's really funny, but it's also like like I don't know, just uncanny enough to be like really frightening. Someone was saying like this. I was listening to this one podcast. They're talking about like that horror movie, the Giant Claw, which is like has this fake like kind of stupid looking bird monster. It's like a 50s like B movie. He was saying like,
Uh-huh.
like even if a monster looked really stupid, if it was chasing you, it would still be really scary.
Oh yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
This kid's got like spider monkey arms now. It's
Yeah.
it's that's pretty scary. Um, and so he comes for him.
Captain
You know,
America leaping, Jim Leap pose.
yep, yep. And they sort of get into it, and he cuts the kid right in half, and it doesn't die because mom, it hurts. Help me, mom, it hurts, it hurts. So this is mom,
Mm.
this old lady. And mom comes with like an axe, I guess, and just and splits the kid's head, puts it out of its misery. But it still isn't dead. Slowly, I guess. So why don't you say his name? I never named this boy. So this is one of her children. This was the child I had by my brother, and I've longed for his death ever since he was inside me. Is it not strange at all that an ogre was born from a woman like an ogre, like me? I'm the real ogre. It's me. Ever since I gave birth to this child, I have become an ogre. Oh man, that's rough. Is she just like a regular human, but like was a
So
like incest bore this child and
with this series, because I've read all of Ogre Slayer that was translated here, because
yeah.
this was another title like in this book that like made me like I was an instant fan. I was like, I got to read more of these fucking stories. And it's kind of loose. Like in each story, they're all one and done, which is really cool. But they it's always like the people are transformed into ogres, or ogres already exist, or like in this case like when people are turned into them, it's always like some weird like guilt or sin or something that like is very human, that like literally kind of like transforms them into like something like monstrous. And it doesn't really like I don't know, it's kind of different every time. Like sometimes it can be jealousy, sometimes it can be like not even the fact that she had like this incest baby, it was like the fact that like it was her desire that she wanted it dead, is what like made like kind of like made like her and her child like into these like creatures. Yeah. So very,
Jeez.
yeah,
That's
Ogre Slayer
heavy.
is a wild series, it's really good.
Wow. Jeepers creepers. That's good. Well, that's really cool, man. This is a really cool magazine. I didn't even know that it existed until, it showed up at my door, and I'm so happy that it did. This was really cool, and now I want to go out and find more of
They're
these
great,
things.
man. It's there's a lot of gold that they published in this series. It's really good stuff.
That's
Yeah, I
cool.
think also
Um,
Tezuka, like Blackjack, they were the first to publish those stories in this as well later on.
oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Ah, very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, definitely gonna have to track these down. This is issue 7, so I mean, it must have gone on longer than that. So,
Yeah, man.
um, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing it, man. Thanks for stopping by. And so people can find you on Instagram at Wesley Griffith _, right?
Yeah, Wesley Griffith _ for the Instagram, and then my comics
Mhm.
are available at wesleygriffith.bigcartel.com.
All right. I'll put all that in the show notes so people can go
Wait a
and
minute,
grab
I am so
these.
sorry. I, I don't think I said that right. It's Wesley Griffith shop.bigcartel.com. I don't know if I included the shop. I always
Ah,
forget that
okay.
the shop is in there.
The shop
Yeah,
part, right? Well, I'll make sure that there's a link, and I'll make sure that it
awesome.
works
Yeah.
so people can go in there and grab
All
it.
right.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming by.
Chris, thank you so much for having me, man.
Join my Patreon to see my work before anyone else, plus score physical sketchbooks, mini comics, and commissions delivered right to your door, and reading my new books, Something Seems Off and Three-Headed Pigman, as they are made. Go to my website to order original art, commissions, and my books, Lost Angels, Spectral: A Showcase of Fear, Chaotic Neutral, and more. Gray Matter Drip, The Art of Chris Anderson is available now from Cosmic Lion Productions. Here are the upcoming conventions I'll be at the time of this recording. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. It helps spread the word. Thanks.